We out here.
We out here indeed. I don't really know how to start this though.
Welcome to Big Tech Guys.
That's how you do it. Clean, minimalistic, simple.
Indeed. Just how you like it, John.
We're your co-hosts. I'm John.
I'm Garrett.
Welcome back after a month downtime. And this one we kind of didn't know we were going to do until, well, really this morning.
I mean, that's kind of like most of our podcasts. It's at least, at the most, it's like 3-4 days before.
Well, I knew, before the Star Wars one, I knew that we were going to do, I knew pretty far in advance, we were going to talk about it. So I guess, I just wasn't ready for, this is like a 6-hour turnaround.
I mean, hey, it's nice. We can actually talk about a current event for once.
Google Stadia. Fans are outraged. Project xCloud is on the rise? Find out more in this episode of the Big Tech Guys podcast.
I don't think Google Stadia is in a bad spot yet. However, I wouldn't say they're in a great spot. That's for sure. A lot of people have been skeptical about it, and it is not good to have a service like that be lackluster in its early release. The only console I can think of that had a redemption arc after an iffy release was the Xbox One. Every other console that has opened like that has been dunked on. And even still, the Xbox One isn't even close to being the best-selling console in the market right now.
Well, just for the people who have no idea what's going on, Google Stadia is a revolutionary cloud gaming platform, which means that you don't have to have a fancy gaming PC. You don't have to have a console even. All you have to do is to have a computer that can run Google Chrome and then a strong internet connection. And through Google servers, you can play any game in their library for a monthly fee, or you have to buy some games. There's a pro tier where you get a free game and kind of stuff like that. And then there's, I guess, a lower tier where you have to buy all the games. The point is, a Reddit post on r/Stadia pointed out that in the 69 days that Stadia had been out since launch, it had gone 40 days without a new game announcement, release, feature update, or real community update.
I will say, today, I believe they announced 2 games coming out next month.
They did. They announced Metro Exodus, and there's one more.
I don't know. I didn't even know what the other one was, I don't think. But I saw Metro Exodus, which is not even on an exclusivity thing. It's going to be coming out around the same time as it comes out on Steam, because it comes out in the next 2 weeks on Steam.
The problem is that Google really did not communicate, had not been communicating really at all with their fan base. r/Stadia is actually a super enthusiastically positive towards Stadia, and they're still kind of mixed about this whole reaction.
Is it that bad?
Yeah, it really is that bad. People who are on that subreddit truly believe that this is the future of gaming, and they're completely confident that it's the future, and they are not afraid to tell you. So to see a criticism like this not only stay up on the official subreddit, but also get awarded with flying colors, to see a community go from completely positive to one person being yo, this is stuff that's wrong with it, and everybody being yeah, this is right.
I'll be the first to say that I did not think it would go over too well. The advertising was super weird, I'll be honest. It seemed like they were trying to aim for gamers, but it was just really weird, and it didn't seem like it was aiming for the general public, that's for sure. I don't know. It was a very weird advertising set. I mean, they advertised it everywhere. It was all over the place. They run a lot of ads for it. And I don't know. It has quite the small library, which it's not good, especially considering they have 0 exclusives too. Having that little games, and requiring a pro membership to even be able to play them once you've purchased it.
You can only use their controller on it too. It's not like you can use any third-party controller. You have to use the Google Stadia controller, which is about, I think it's $70.
And I mean, it's about $10 more than most controllers these days.
Yeah, it's about the same price as like the Joy-Cons, right? Or the Joy-Cons more expensive.
I think it's about the same as the Joy-Cons, but for like an Xbox One controller or a PS4 controller, it's about $10 more, I believe.
The point is, this platform is in a super weird state. Unfortunately, there's a great Vice article on this, and the headline is "It's increasingly clear Stadia's launch was an expensive beta test." And I think that just kind of sums up like it's good, it's revolutionary, but it's not ready.
You know what's really sad about this? I have I have a feeling this is going to be how the story of the Stadia turns out. What's going to happen is Stadia's exact idea of like being able to stream games like that is going to be adopted by Xbox and PlayStation, and then incorporated into their consoles, and then it'll go huge. It won't be for a while.
Funny you say that. Microsoft already has their own. It's called Project xCloud. It's already out. It's only getting better. They just released Halo Master Chief Collection and Destiny 2 on it.
See, here's the thing that Xbox has going for it on that. You don't have to buy a new console to do that. You just use the games you already own. I don't know. I feel like it's a much more compelling thing for people who already own said games. They already own, like, they're already committed to Xbox. All they have to do is just set up the stream, and they do it. They already own the games, or they can buy new games that they know they can play not just over streaming, but they can stream them if they'd like. I feel like streaming is definitely, I think it's, a very nice feature that's going to be incorporated into most platforms in the coming years. However, I don't think a streaming only system like Stadia, we're not really ready for that yet. And also, I don't think this one has been implemented as great as it could for release.
Well, Stadia is also bottlenecked by the fact that you can only run it on Google Chrome. Chrome is notorious for taking up a ton of RAM and a ton of space. Like it's notoriously a hard web browser to run on older computers. Because I kind of felt like that was like one of the appeals of it was like you don't have a PC good enough to play games on. Well, then just play it on your web browser. I felt like that was one of the appeals for it. The other thing is, let's say, oh, I don't have a PC. Well, you can play on your phone, but you can only play on Android phones. And you can't even play on all Android phones. You can only play on the Pixel, which I understand the reasoning why. They can test it better. It's kind of like how Apple's mentality is like, don't make as many phones, but like make it released on that. But still, like this is a very niche group of people that they currently have a market for. Because it's only Pixel owners and people who have PCs strong enough to run Chrome.
See, like, at that point, it's like, why would you not just get PC games? And also at that point, why would you not just like, look, I can stream games off of Steam onto my iPhone. Or actually it works on any phone. So why would I be interested in something like the Stadia when I can stream it to whatever device I want? Having it like it's having a restriction like that on like streaming it to what you can stream it to, it just makes it like it makes it for a niche audience, but their advertising and their marketing just didn't seem like it was aimed at the correct audience. Like it was aimed for such a specific audience. I don't know why they would expect for it to do crazy well. And I know a few like I've read a few stories on people getting Stadias and not understanding how to get it to work, and when they did get it to work, it wasn't the best because it's really for a very specific type of group of people. And if you're not in that group, it's really not the best experience, and you'd be better off getting something else.
I think it's really aimed at the people who want to get into PC gaming, but just don't have the money for it. And I think that's its main audience. The problem is that it's just such a niche audience because like when I was getting into like PC gaming or just really like I'm gonna say Steam because I used to play on a MacBook like I wasn't trying to play like the latest and greatest titles really. I was just trying to run whatever the crap could run on my laptop, which was like games like CS:GO and Blockstorm and League of Legends. I could play Rocket League. Rocket League was probably the hardest out of them, but like I played what I was like able to play with. Partially because Stadia wasn't out. Had Stadia been out, I probably would have gotten it if I was still on my laptop.
I don't know if I would have gotten it. I'll be honest. Even hypothetically, if I was in that situation right now, I wouldn't really be able to. It wouldn't work for my, I don't know, plan.
They haven't done all bad. I just think that they're too early to this market. They're in this market. It's almost like they're trying to create their own market. Game streaming has kind of been there with like Nvidia Game Shield or the Nvidia Shield, and like Steam Link's been there, but like it's never really been like a market. I mean, I have a Steam Link, and it was like what, $60 regularly. I paid a total of $2 for mine because they were literally just like, we have made way too many of these and not enough people have bought them, so come get one for $2.
And the thing is that they're literally phased out now. You can do it without the Steam Link now. You can do everything you do with the Steam Link now without it. Yeah, it's becoming more of a feature. It's more of a feature than a gimmick. You know what I'm saying? You can't base your whole thing around it. I feel like it's kind of doomed to fail when you do that. It's not a sustainable long term thing. I don't know.
I don't think we're ready for it. I think that sums up a lot of my opinion. The technology is there, but like there's no market for it.
Yeah, and I feel like there's no market for a sole streaming console. I feel like it's better off as a feature right now, as an option for those who want to try it and can use it that way. I feel like otherwise it's just but forcing people to stream it just I feel like it just creates a lot of problems. And I know Stadia streaming is much better than say like me streaming a Steam Link game to my laptop.
Did you ever try out the because they did a test flight of it with Assassin's Creed Odyssey?
No, I never tried it.
Yeah, I didn't only played it like for like maybe 30 minutes or so. And I guess my sentiment's still the same now as it is, that just like it's just not ready. Like I was playing it on the internet. It was cool.
Yeah, I'll say this. The thing about Stadia that's actually really, really revolutionary is more of the lack of downloading games. You don't need to do it. However, I feel like it requires an internet connection good enough to the point to where you can probably download most games pretty quick anyway. I don't know. And I feel like it's also definitely more for the type of person who just kind of doesn't ever really know what they want to play, but kind of just hops around and plays a little bit of a bunch of games. Never really like there are a lot of people who just hop from game to game. They play a game for like maybe 30 minutes to an hour and then move on to another game, or sometimes a little bit more than that. You know what I'm saying? It's just kind of what they're interested in at the time.
The video game market is changing very rapidly. We're in an era where technology is advancing at a rate faster than we've ever seen it before. I have a fairly recent PC, but like my graphics card is already two generations behind.
Right. Mine is a million generations behind at this point. I built it like 4 years ago, but it still runs the like the newest games at high or ultra.
Yeah. I guess since Stadia's kind of a spot in like the game market, I figured we'd talk more about just like where the video game market could possibly go.
What do you mean by that? Like as far as hardware?
Well, I just think like we're starting to see new marketing practices due to sheer access to video games. I think one clear example of that is just the absolute success of Epic's Battle Pass. Like, I think that's something that only works when you have that many people on a platform. I guess my point is like, where do you see the market going to next?
As far as monetization solutions?
Monetization, just like how games are developed.
I mean, I feel like progression is a huge thing these days in keeping player retention and keeping the money flowing. Games as a service is a big deal right now. However, I do think that it might be on the way out, but I don't know. That remains to be seen. So far though, a good progression system that you unlock things like as you play, but having plenty of things to unlock, whether it's via a battle pass or just whatever, that's really important. I feel like you almost can't have a multiplayer game without it. In fact, there have been games that have been created, like they're super fun multiplayer wise, but people drop them because they don't have a progression system. They don't have any reason to keep them playing other than it's fun. These days isn't actually enough because there are a lot of fun games. I guess that's how people see it. If there's nothing to work towards, that's why a competitive mode does a lot. as in addition to that in most games. That's something I see not going anywhere, and in fact just becoming even more commonplace than it already is. And I feel like it'll take different forms over the next few years, but the battle pass is the most recent example of it, and it's kind of what spawned all this actually, because most games now have some kind of progression system. Uh, Overwatch has implemented its own little events that work as a progression system type thing, even despite the game not actually having a progression system, besides just getting a new level in a loot box. That was kind of like like protozoa version of the battle pass. Um, but uh, yeah, that's kind of just the way I feel like you have to make a multiplayer game these days. And single player, I just I don't. I'm kind of glad. I feel like people are like finally the open world like rabies craze is finally coming to an end. You know what? I mean, okay, it was really bad. Like the old 2000, like I'd say 2007 to like 2015. It was just like any big AAA game is open world. It's open world. You can go anywhere, and then it ended up having either not as good a story, not fleshed out enough. I don't know. I feel like that was a story of a lot of AAA single player games.
Oh yeah, for sure. And definitely some of the most popular games have come out of that open world kind of style. You got games like GTA 5 and like I can think of like a bad example, but like the Lego Marvel Superheroes game is like that. It's an open world.
GTA 5 is not the same. All right, you know why? Because the reason there are still so many people playing that game 5 to 6 years after its release is because they made an MMO, Grand Theft Auto Online. That's why Grand Theft Auto 5 is a fun game, but GTA Online is truly the most successful MMO of this generation. And it's interesting to say that because I mean that's what it is. It's literally an MMO where you can do almost whatever you want. I don't know. It turned GTA into something a bit more than just completing the campaign and doing random crap. It evolved it into something that's like where you could actually do things that were not just running around and screwing up the landscape, stealing cars, that kind of deal. You could actually take on a job or a role. It was kind of crazy, and then do heists and stuff. Basically it just it evolved the game in a way that kept made it just last forever, pretty much. As long as
It's still
they're gonna
going.
want to, right? They still add updates all the time, actually. And Red Dead Online is another attempt to make another version of that, but just in Red Dead's universe, and it's been wildly successful. Rockstar, I wouldn't be surprised. So far, every like since GTA 5, I don't know if they won't include MMO version of anything whenever they make a new game. I don't know if they'll make a GTA 6 for a long time at this rate.
Well, Rockstar has a genius release strategy because they release games at very specific times if you can't already tell. Because they don't just release a game. Because one thing that they figured out is that you don't have to release a product on just one generation. And you don't have to release it on one platform at a time. Like you don't have to go like this game's out everywhere right now. One thing that Rockstar did with GTA 5 that was so smart is they released the game right before the Xbox One came out. And so they put a version out, Xbox 360 and PS3. And then once the Xbox One came out, guess what? We've updated GTA 5 and we've made it look better on this platform, and now it's available on your Xbox One and PS4. And I guarantee you that's why they released Red Dead 2, like what it was last year, is because, well, the new generation's coming out this year. And so now you got people who've played it on the Xbox One. And then you'll have people go, oh, like we had Red Dead, so now I need to go play it at better graphics on my, I don't even know what the next generation Xbox and PS5.
See, here's the thing though. the caveat there, the reason those games are gonna get repurchased is because they're MMOs and people wanna continue playing. They're gonna continue playing them. It's like, "Oh, I gotta bring it over." So, like, they gotta continue, like, doing the stuff they need to do. Um, MMOs, if you can suck someone into a MMO, like, that I feel like, um, there are not many games anymore that you can just like, MMOs standard MMOs tend to be dying out, but GTA, I feel like that's the way they need to start moving because MMOs, I feel like, are the best way if you want to have player retention, MMOs suck people in, and then it becomes their game, like, that's all they play. So, it's one of those things I feel like more c it's almost like people forgot how lucrative of a genre that is. It's just I don't feel like many people know how to do it right, and it requires so many resources to make one, whether it's servers, like, stuff, or in just assets. It's a lot to make, and if it doesn't hit it off, it's it's money down the drain, tons of money. So I feel like a lot of people are hesitant to do it, but it's definitely still relevant these days. GTA Online and Red Dead Online, I'd say, are evident of that. Um, but I don't know. They're not traditional MMOs by any means either. So, um, and Final Fantasy 14 is actually doing extremely, extremely well being an MMO. In fact, it's exploded in the past year and a half. I didn't even know it was as big as it was until just like it's just a huge deal. Um, and I had not realized that until I guess a year ago or so. But that game's been out for 4 years in and of itself as well. It's got an enormous player base. But yeah, I don't know.
I hope to see more like genre breaking games, I guess.
Like they create a new genre almost, but they like fuse a few together.
Yeah, well, I like seeing games that push the limits of what a genre is, and kind of like because I feel like that's kind of what we're seeing in like music right now. So like real world example, Billie Eilish got won like 4 Grammys. Why? Because she made a really good like genre blending album. Like
It appeals to a lot of people because it meshes so many genres.
exactly, and that's no credit. That's not like credit taken away from her. Like it's a good album. I don't understand it because it's kind of like goes over my head, but I have mad respect for the music she's made is actually like good. Like it's not like a stereotypical song like Yummy. It's like it does a lot with vocals, with production. One does not simply make Anthony Fantano like a pop album, and that's what sums up my opinion on that album. I want to see more games like actually like kind of like trying out new mechanics. Like I want to see a game get popular that does something completely different. I feel like I see games get popular for changing minute details, if that makes any sense.
Right, right. They don't like innovate on the genre per se.
I would love to see a game like truly like a AAA title like completely innovate.
There are a few good examples of that in the past, but like I don't know. It's like what Dark Souls did to the JRPG. Um, Having a different type of RPG. I don't know, the ultra hard, hyper atmospheric. It created a subgenre within it, the old Souls like, which I don't really like that name at all. Actually, I think it's really dumb. Uh, but they innovated on the RPG genre, kept like stats and like builds and stuff, but they made the game really satisfying as far as combat goes, and you were in full control even still. Um, it's designed in a way where I don't know. it was designed in a way that I don't think they were looking to get people just it was not aimed towards everyone in that sense, but it ended up becoming super popular. Um, or like what Doom 2016 did to take old, um, classic arena shooting, like classic 90s shooters, and adapted that to a modern form, but changed it up a bit to make it work in a modern era, giving like especially Eternal, I'd say is going it looks better than Doom 2016 only because it is truly what I just said, but on steroids, because they've added crazy movement, crazy weapons, like it's got the crazy weapons and arena combat of the old games, but it's got crazy movement and crazy acrobatics that you can do within that to stay mobile and super mobile gameplay featuring tons of like ways to get around is modern FPSs in a nutshell. Minus the 2007 hyper military era to 2011, when everything was after COD got big, everyone wanted to make a military like real like modern day shooter.
And then you had companies start having fun with it, like Borderlands comes to mind, or
I I feel like when the hero shooters when Overwatch came out, it 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 spawned a bunch of like um hero shooter like combos and people adding like heroes and like champions to their games. And after that, and I guess that's kind of evolved into just movement. People like to just be able to have a lot of movement freedom, and I feel like that is the future, at least for FPSs. And I love movement. That's my favorite. That's like one of my favorite things in games. I love being able to just, uh, I don't know, really. It's really hard to describe, actually. Um, I love movement, but yeah. I don't know. I definitely think there are a lot of people still interested in innovating in a lot of genres, and we'll just have to wait and see. It may even be indie stuff that we see going huge.
what do you think the next subgenre is?
I have no clue.
We've had military games like with the COD, that was a thing. It still is a thing. I mean, Modern Warfare, the new Modern Warfare was a hot seller, and then we had champion based shooters. Like, what's the
As far as FPS goes, I have no clue. Overwatch was kind of an idea that was born of saying, "Hey, MOBAs are popular, FPSs are popular. How can we mesh those together?" Um, I think I don't know. I don't know, but it's going to be a combo of some fun genres. That's all I'm gonna say. Um, the FPS with maybe people have tried. I feel like FPS with RPG, and I don't think it really is. I don't know.
Do you think that would be
Um,
something like Borderlands?
Actually, yes, that is what it is. Borderlands and Destiny are actually legitimately that. Except Borderlands is more single player focused, and Destiny is more MMO, like always online focused. But yeah, those would be FPS RPG hybrids, actually, now that I think about it.
I hope we kind of get off the first person shooter train a little bit.
I mean, I love FPSs, you
No,
know
they're
that.
great.
However,
I like seeing innovation, and
right.
if that means like switching off of FPSs, you know, I like me my walking sims.
I think okay, I would love to have some more atmospheric FPSs. I feel like that's really my favorite type. Metroid Prime, that's my jam. But there are some other FPSs that definitely come to mind when I think of atmospheric FPS, like Metro 2033. Legitimately, that game, uh, it is very immersive, but it's still an FPS. But it's because it's kind of a survival horror FPS combo, but with pretty good combat and stuff. But it's a very old school in the sense, and very survival horror in the sense that there's not much movement ability per se, but it does a great job of its atmosphere. But I think some more exploration based FPSs um, would be very cool. In fact, Metroid has a lot of potential because uh, people say Dark Souls is very similar to Metroid, and I would definitely agree with that. And I feel like a hardcore FPS that involves like the super atmospheric natures of those games with tough bosses and tough enemies could be, and a lot of cool movement abilities, that could be a really cool game. And it could be honestly any art style or any type, like era or whatever. I think that kind of game would be super cool. Um, but um, you know, that's Garrett's pipe dream video game. So we'll see if anyone makes that ever. But yeah. Uh, I don't know. Another genre I'd like to see raised from the dead, kind of, is the 3D stealth game. Uh, Metal Gear Solid was the thing in that genre. I mean, there are a few others games within it. However, like now that there's never going to be a Metal Gear Solid game anymore, kind of depresses me. I'd like to see someone else take a crack at it. Because I don't know, stealth games are quite fun.
I guess like I've never really played like a true stealth game.
I didn't either. I kind of just tried them because I thought I would like Metal Gear Solid. Spoiler, I did. I don't know. Metal Gear Solid 5 might be one of the best optimized games I've ever played in my life. Really, you can run it on a crap top. It actually makes I don't understand how they like it is so well optimized. Um, but it also happens to be fantastic and look amazing uh, on good PCs and stuff. But I'd like to see someone take on the stealth genre. And the hack and slash genre is hit a second wind with Devil May Cry 5. I'd like to see people hack and slashes are a certain type of fun where you just kind of get to turn your brain off and watch your character do really sick things and just destroy people. And I mean, it's not completely turning your brain off. Like it's pretty satisfying. Like doing perfect dodges and continuing to wreck. Platinum Games, as long as their company exists, we're gonna keep getting uh, hack and slashes. But I'm glad that Devil May Cry has kind of had a resurgence. Capcom recently has been on fire. Their games, like they had a terrible few years before, and it all started with Resident Evil 7. Is it 7? I think it was the first person horror one. I think it was Resident Evil 7. Um, and after that, that game was critically acclaimed, did super well. Um, the time of like the time in which it came out, like the year or whatever, was perfect for that kind of game. It was right in the middle of YouTube's heyday of let's plays, and also it looked really good and had a compelling story plus compelling gameplay. Uh, Also, it was just the right kind of disgusting, but not too disgusting. Uh, it was the beginning of them like they've been resurrecting a lot of franchises recently, and it's been to great success. Because what do you know? When you take great IPs and you decide to revamp them in a modern way, I mean, people already like the characters and people already like the series. Uh, I don't know. It's free. I don't know why they didn't see this coming earlier. Because remaking Resident Evil 2, basically Resident Evil 2, Devil May Cry 5, both took existing franchises that were already beloved, expanded upon them, took what was great about them, uh, updated them for more modern audiences, and didn't change the things that were great about the games. For instance, there was a Devil May Cry reboot for the 360 era. Um, didn't do the best. It did fine, but they revamped the characters a bunch and like I don't know. It wasn't the same. It wasn't the old classic style. Devil May Cry 5 goes back to that. Gives the games like that crazy over the top characters that are bursting with personality as well as crazy over the top combat that isn't necessarily it's brutal but it leans more toward the crazy side than the brutal side. It's not like, "Oh, that's freaking disgusting." It's more like that's kind of hilarious. He just like pulled up a motorcycle and drove up on him. Like did an uppercut with the motorcycle out here. Like that kind of stuff. Um, I don't know. I embraced the weird side, which was what the game was beloved for in the first place. But then they made the combat like fit for more of a modern audience and updated it and made it very fluid. And like they've just been doing a really good job recently, and I'm excited to see them take some other beloved franchises that they've just been having sitting around and doing cool things with them. Because Resident Evil 2 remake did so well, they're remaking Resident Evil 3 now with the same engine, so which is kind of free money. They might just keep doing that for 4. They're definitely gonna do 4. That's the Resident Evil game. I don't know if they'll do 5. Maybe they will, but they're not gonna do 6 or 7, or 6, I mean, but, uh, I can see them doing one more. Then maybe they'll make a new one, maybe, but people will buy this next one, and people will buy 4. 4 is gonna I'm telling you right now, they're gonna announce it and people are gonna freak out on the internet. It's like a Final Fantasy 7 type game, you know what I'm saying? Like that game, like, that everyone played in their childhood, and, they remake it and everyone goes ballistic. I mean, it's just another remake, you know what I'm saying? But people are just going crazy. But Final Fantasy 7 remake is a lot. That game, I'm excited for. I didn't even grow up playing that game. Uh, it's because 'cause they're completely changing it. It's not turn-based like it was originally in the '90s. It's more like their more recent, uh, real-time combat that they made for Final Fantasy 15, which I happen to really like, actually. Um, I don't know about you. I like being able to move around, engage enemies how I want.
I've never really liked turn-based games. I think that's just me.
I mean, I don't mind them. I like them in strategy. I like turn-based strategy, like XCOM, Fire Emblem. I love that. But turn-based RPGs, I like them, but I like what they did in Final Fantasy 15 in the sense that when you encounter an enemy, they're just running around, and then you can kind of just attack them, and you can dip in and out of like attacks. You can dodge. That's what I love in that game. You can actually perfect dodge things and like roll. Uh, which you can't do in turn-based games. You just get hit. It's just gonna happen. Uh, you can't dodge, and I loved being able to do that. You can outskill enemies that you're a little bit under leveled for, and you still get the XP, which is nice. So, it's a nice like. I like having a little bit of skill in my games besides just knowing what you know. Not to say that turn-based isn't skill-based because it definitely is, but it's a different. I like having good timings and stuff be a good part of it. You know what I'm saying? I feel like that's much more fun for me. Not for everyone. I know a lot of purists don't really like it as much, but I like that they're doing it for this game too. And Final Fantasy VII Remake, I'll be honest with Square Enix. I gotta give it to them. They're pulling a Hobbit on it. I mean, I don't even blame them for milking it as hard as they're about to milk it. You know the Final Fantasy VII Remake, the one coming out this year. It's not the whole game. You know that, right? Yeah, it's just the first act of the game, actually. Like the first, I'd say 14, 15 hours of the base game. Uh,
Good
there's
lord,
a lot
first
more.
14, 15 hours?
It's a 50-hour game typically. Um,
Jeez.
the full game. The first 15 hours, they're adding new bits. Basically, they're making the first 15 hours more like 30 or 40. And they're gonna keep making the rest of them
So
as
just kind
time
of like
goes on.
slow it down or whatever.
They're gonna keep releasing episodes, almost, kind of, but they're like 40-hour episodes of gameplay. Um, yeah, it looks really really good, and I think a lot of the time developing this game, because when this game was revealed, right?
Yeah, it was a long
Like,
time ago.
it was actually before the PS4 came out.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
the year before at that E3 when they announced the PS4, they announced Final Fantasy VII Remake, and here we are, 2020. It's coming out.
Well, at least they're taking their time and they're.
Yeah, yeah. Um, it looks really good. Uh, They didn't say anything about the game till last year, though. Uh, People actually didn't think it existed anymore. It got scrapped, but it didn't, and here it is. But it'll be interesting.
I hope that this next decade doesn't usher in. I hope it's not the decade of the remake. I hope that games get remade and they get remade in flying colors. But I don't want that to be like defining, at least for the start of it. Like, obviously Final Fantasy VII, that's a big game. They've talked about it for a while. I want to see like new games as well as like new takes on old games.
I think Final Fantasy VII Remake is probably the best case of a remake I've seen, only because if you took out like the only similarities it has to the old game is all the characters are the same, and the story is it people are not so sure on what all this like how much new there is in this game, but people are pretty sure that it's a lot. Like, because people are like, oh yeah, I remember that. I remember that. Wait, what's that? Why is that there? What's that? They definitely added a bunch of stuff. It's definitely not Final Fantasy VII. It's not a remaster. It's a remake. In the most truest sense. And same with Resident Evil 2. It's over the shoulder like the old originals, but it doesn't play like the originals in the slightest. That's what I like. I like taking an old game and making it like in a modern context is really what they're doing. They're remaking it. They're not just saying, here it is with HD graphics, like Hyper HD. We remodeled it all, but it plays the same pretty much. No. Yeah. I like what they've been doing with that. And I don't mind remakes when they're like that. HD remasters and stuff. Unless it's Metroid Prime Trilogy. I don't know. But that's the one I'll buy.
Yeah, I know as soon as they announce Metroid Prime Trilogy Remake,
I'm pre-ordering it.
Instantaneously. Like, speedrun any percent, Garrett tries to buy Metroid Prime Remake.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. A remake would make me go ballistic, but it'll probably just be an HD remaster for Switch if they make it, which means it's the same exact game. It just looks slightly better, and I'm still gonna buy it. So, that's what you call a sucker, a simp for a Metroid. I'd say we covered a decent bit of ground.
We didn't talk for Stadia all that long. We talked more for like just game market in general. Well, granted, the Stadia story is pretty straightforward. It's also like developing as we speak because like this happened 6 hours ago.
It's definitely not over yet, and also I feel like it's not as crazy as it could be. It definitely hasn't. It's not an outrage, but it's also not like not even an issue. It's just kind of there.
Yeah, it's a really weird situation. We don't really know what to do with it.
Would you say that's the podcast, or you have anything else you'd like to say?
No, I think that's it. We talked about Stadia, then we moved over to game market. We talked about remasters, remakes. We had some good topics. That's been it for this episode of the Big Tech Guys podcast.
Michael Bublé, please listen to this episode.
Please, we beg of you, Michael Bublé, just once.
And if you listen, just send me a letter with one of your Christmas albums in the mail. Just DM me on Twitter. We'll make it happen. I think that's it for this one. Don't know when the next one will be. It could be next week. It could be a month from now. It could be 2 months from now. Or we just don't ever make one again, which I doubt. However, we'll see.
The thing about this kind of tech news that we talk about is really we talk about major stuff.
And stuff we're more interested in, like, I don't know, stuff that we find really interesting that's going on.
Yeah, and once a month would not be bad for me.
It would be good for me as well. However,
we'd like to make as many of these as possible, just because they're fun to make.
They are. However, we can't make articles, and we can't make news happen.
But what if we did?
Yeah, I'd just go over to Nintendo, leak Metroid Prime Trilogy, I'll make a podcast talking about me being excited for Metroid Prime Trilogy. Profit right there.
Instantaneous profit. If you enjoyed this podcast, Share it with your friends. If you listen to it on iTunes, leave a review. You know what? If people start leaving written reviews, we'll just start reading them. How about that?
We will.
If you leave a written review, we'll do a Misfit Styles intro where we read one of the reviews. So make it funny. I don't care. It's on YouTube. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel for more podcasts I don't even know how long.
If you're on SoundCloud, like it.
Share our mixtape with your friends.
And then when they listen, they'll be like, wait, it's just two idiots talking about video games. And then you will be like, got him, GG's. And that will be it.
Thanks for watching, guys.
The podcast is over.
The podcast is done. The podcast is over.
We have ended the podcast.
Turn off your screen now.
Click off now. Pause the video. You have not paused it yet. I'm actually telling you to pause it. There is nothing else beyond this point other than us maybe restating the same thing, unless John cuts it here, which he probably will. Right about here.